to empower small business owners, entrepreneurs, and innovators. And we do that through events like today, so workshops, we do that through one-on-one consults and coaching, technical assistance, workshops, and of course the Arnold Innovation Center, which is a low-cost co-working space, and we do that at all no cost to you. I'm going to be introducing today our speaker. We normally don't have a bio, but we do today, and it's a very impressive one. So bear with me as I read it. So Andrea founded Hippie Hounds in December of 2019. She has always had a deep love for dogs and spent her early years working as a dog trainer and handler. Andrea attended veterinary technology program at ASU BB before launching her career in general practice. Her experience took her to several general practices, shelter medicine, critical care, and emergency. Andrea has always loved teaching and learning, so in 2018, she traveled to South Africa to teach animal technician students. I wasn't even going to try where you went to Africa. Andrea is a certified veterinary cannabis counselor and a certified instructor with the American Association of Veterinary State Boards. Her expertise shines through in her position of learning manager with veterinary cannabis education and consulting. She's an international speaker on veterinary cannabis and provides continued education for veterinary professionals. Hippie Hounds full spectrum hemps are being utilized for international clinical trials on atopic dermatitis in Brazil. So please help me welcome Andrea.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Andrea Harris, and I'm the CEO and founder of Hippie Hounds Treats. I want to start today with our mission statement. Our mission statement is that we will provide every hound with safe, tested, human-grade, life-changing, all-natural medicines. At Hippie Hounds, we believe that every hound should have a natural alternative to pharmaceuticals that works, has been tested, and tastes fantastic. So how it all began, I was working as a veterinary technician and I wanted to go over to Africa. Erica mentioned that. And in doing so, I decided to make peanut butter treats with no hemp in them to raise the funds in order for me to be able to go. Well, when I came back from Africa, the 2018 Farm Bill had passed and now hemp and CBD was being marketed to dogs. Now, me as a veterinary professional, I knew, well, all these products can't be created equal. And our pet parents are giving hemp along with gabapentin. Isn't there some kind of contraindication there that we should be aware of? I turned to my veterinary professional industry leaders and asked them, what do we do and what do we say to our clients? And all of them were terrified they would lose their license if they discussed CBD or a cannabis as a treatment option for their patient. That's when I realized that we had a much deeper problem on our hands than I thought. Everybody that was stepping into this space had millions of dollars to contribute to marketing, so they were telling pet parents whatever they needed to do to sell. I found a specialty program in Colorado that was ran by a doctor of veterinary medicine, and it was all specializing around veterinary cannabis. So I took this program while I was working full-time at the ER, and it taught me not only about clinical trials and the chemical makeup of the molecules that is cannabis, but it also taught me how to introduce cannabis into multimodal treatment plans for my patients. And it also taught me how to assess the safety and the valuation of the products that we had available. And armed with that knowledge, I went off into the world to go find a product that I was going to support to recommend to my patients. And that was not an easy task. Everything was full of fillers. Most of the ingredients were carcinogenic, even though this is an anti-cancer product. And I just saw so many inconsistencies with the brands that were out there in it. Well, I knew that I had my peanut butter treat recipe. So now it was just a matter of putting hemp into it. So once I figured out how to formulate and how to do product development, which was literally just being in the right place at the right time with the right scientists to learn the right things, I learned how to make my product shelf stable the natural way. And I learned how to dose these dogs appropriately through seeing it work with what I sent home with my veterinary friends. So my first few bags went out in Ziploc bags. And after 3 weeks of selling Hippie Hounds out of Ziploc bags, I had to quit my job. We had way too many orders and I had to design some kind of packaging. So once I started to design packaging, now it was time to release the product for real. I had 3 different checks from retailers, which were cannabis dispensaries and vet clinics. But now I was faced with, I have to open up a bank account for my company. We were turned away by 10 banks because we're a hemp company. And for those of you that don't know, the FDIC does not like cannabis. So a lot of the dealings that we do is in cash. Let me check. So that was 2020. I started out in my first little house here. You can see my big pit bull looming over me and my daughter making treats. I would work a 14-hour ER shift and come home and my daughter would help me make these cookies for the dogs that needed them. I outgrew that house in about 4 months. And that's where you see the second picture here, where I've got this whole bedroom outfitted just for Hippie Hounds. And very quickly, I think it only took about 8 months for me to outgrow the bigger house. Now I was faced with it's time to get a facility. So I want to talk really quick about some of my struggle stories before I tell you guys how 2022 and 2023 went. One of the biggest ones I can talk about is making the right decisions to create the bigger picture. I was a vet tech. I didn't have an MBA. I didn't have access to millions of dollars worth of capital. My family was deciding between food and gas to go to work the next day. There was no extra funding available. I had to make very critical decisions on a very tiny budget in order to grow this business into what it became. I couldn't outsource $2,000 for somebody to set me up a website. I couldn't meet Hong Kong's minimum order quantity for how many treat bags I needed. I had to operate all of this tiny, and somehow I had to grow that. So your small decisions that you're faced with, I'm going to jump to the bottom there. It's to delegate or to learn. It's, okay, I've got to be a sales guy now. Do I learn how to do that? Do I tackle that? Or can I afford to outsource it? I need to make a big jump in a big campaign in marketing. Do I sit down, knuckle down, get on Canva and figure it out? Or do I outsource it? So figure out how you can make the right decisions when you're small so that way you can make a bigger picture. The silver star syndrome. So about 4 months into me having treats out there in the market, I made friends with this guy who used to own a vape cartridge company. And he said he was going to teach me everything about business, because who doesn't think they can do that, right? And he comes over and he's going to teach me about marketing. And he said, Andrea, the thing that makes my product better than everybody else's is this beautiful certification silver star on my cartridge. And I was like, well, I love silver stars. How do I get a silver star for my Hippie Hounds bag? And he told me, oh, it's easy. Just write a $300 check, send it to this company, and they'll send you back a piece of paperwork. And I was so crushed. I didn't realize that there were brands out there that would just cut a check to give them notoriety and get them respect on the shelf. Now I realized that I was dealing with a whole different animal, and I had to learn very quickly who I was going to do business with and who I wasn't. Needless to say, we're no longer friends, and I definitely avoid people that have silver star syndrome. If you're going to pay for your accolades, we're not even the same. Understand your market and stop fighting it. So I came out of the veterinary industry, right? The number one place that I wanted to retail my stuff was in vet clinics. Now, don't get me wrong, we're in quite a few. But in doing so, we spent tons of money for me to go lecture at different conferences and re-educate vets and give a lunch and learn so they feel comfortable with cannabis. And I would put tons of energy and effort and emphasis on my veterinarians because I wanted their legitimacy behind my brand. All the while, I was ignoring the market that wanted me, which was a very fruitful cannabis market. And our dispensaries, not just in Arkansas, but all throughout the US, all their clients already know what cannabis medicine is. So there's no re-education piece. There's no breaking of the stigma. Those pieces are already done for me. So potentially in your business right now, you may have a market that is open and ready to receive you, but you might be totally ignoring it because it's not the one you want. Don't fight your market. Lean into it, encourage it, and watch your business grow. I've got take on the scariest thing, it's what you need. Mr. Gray in the back can attest to this. I like to put my fingers in my ears and pretend the problem's not there, and I hope that a big savior will come and do it for me. One of my biggest blocks was accounting and budgeting. Numbers, I'm with that tech. I'm not gonna learn how to do that. It's too much. The numbers overwhelm me. But no savior is coming. The things that are overwhelming you are the things that you have to tackle to get to the next step of where you need to go. Every single time. So if something is standing in your way right now that you're like, oh, I know I need to do that, but I'm gonna go over here and do this because I'm good at it and it's comfy. Stop doing what you're good at and what's comfy. You can do that in your sleep. It's time to learn what makes you uncomfortable because that's what's going to maximize you and maximize your business. And then to delegate or to learn, I feel like we touched on that already. So I'm going to go ahead and jump. So reach high 2021. So after we did those 3 months in my little house, we did about 7 or 8 months in my bigger house. Now it was time for us to get a facility. I had found an old Subway building, which honestly probably doesn't work great for my business because now we're moving into a bigger one, right? But when I got there, it was perfect for me. We spent the little bit of cash we had painting the walls and getting our big sign and making it look perfect. But there were a lot of parts of business that I still didn't get. One of them was managing employees, learning how to have an employee respect me, but also feel safe and comfortable and want to learn from me. How do you build people up without breaking them down first? Because I'm not going to do that. There were so many difficulties around people. And then now, not only do I have the overhead of my little treat bags, but I have so much overhead. I have a building, I have lights, I have internet, I have shipping expenses. There's so many things flooding in. And what was I ignoring? The numbers. Because I didn't want to look at them. I was like, somehow we're doing it, whatever. But we did grow and we did maximize, and we had a beautiful 2021. And that brings me to 2022. So in 2022, I realized, okay, I don't have an MBA. I don't know a lot of people in business. I'm not very well networked or connected because I'm just kind of sat in my bubble making my dog treats. What do I need to do to get myself out there? And something a lot of people used to tell me when they saw my brand was, ooh, Shark Tank, right? So I started watching Shark Tank. I was like, maybe this will help. Well, then I started asking things like, what's your customer acquisition cost? What's your this? What's your that? And I'm like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. So I started writing them down. I'm gonna find out. Oh, that's what we spent on marketing versus how many customers we retain. What was the cost spend per client? So then when I started to understand what business people even wanted to see, I was in the right place at the right time and I was connected with Gray. And so Gray and I got on a video call and he listened to me. We talked for about an hour and I had 50 sheets of paper and he'd ask for a number and I'd be like, wait, I know that one. And I'd pull it out, And at the end of our call, he asked, well, Andrea, what do you need? And I was like, guidance and capital. Those are the two things that we could really benefit from. And within 2 weeks, Greg got me that. And that's when Brian Hosto came onto the scene. He's got a background in real estate. He's an attorney. He does debt collection. And he is so reserved and respectful and direct. And that was what I really, really needed. Somebody that would be direct, tell me the things I didn't want to hear, and teach me the things that I refused to hear. So then David Bott also stepped on the scene, and he works in Chiati. He helps manufacturing companies make their process more efficient. so that then you can get bigger results with the same number of people and the same materials that you're wanting. He was able to come in and build a process flow map to see where we were having these issues, that it was taking so long to make the product. And then you've got David Holt there, my accountant. He spent some time with me that I'm sure he didn't want to spend, but I was able to get these brains on my team. And that was absolutely what we needed in 2020. And that brings me to 2023, which is this year. We are a very busy facility at this point. We operate Monday through Friday. We have somebody there from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. every single day. We have 4 or 5 full-time employees at this point, and we're able to reach so many more dogs. And not only are we able to do that, but thanks to AIC and thanks to my board, I'm learning what's appropriate to delegate so that the people I do have there on my team are the most efficient, and they're able to accomplish things that even I couldn't have accomplished on my own. So 2023 gives 2 paws up. We're moving into a new production facility. Right now, actually, I'm working with the contractors to get our building finished up. We are located in Donaghy, so we are staying here in Conway. We're really excited. This is going to add 2,000 more square feet for us. We're going to have a load bay door. Right now, we assemble and disassemble pallets in the front yard. So now we'll actually be able to do that in our facility, and we're so excited. We're going to have larger office space, so I'm going to be able to, you know, right now I've got a small little office in the back. Now I'll have more expansion. We'll be able to have meetings in my office. It'll be more comfortable there. We're going to have a front desk area for receptionists. So we're going to add new team members and new departments. We currently produce around 1,962 bags of treats a month. Individual treats, that's 58,860. We do about 650 tinctures a month. And our demand is going up and up and up and up and up. Right now we're in, I'm going to come back to that one. Right now we're in 10 states, and I added Delaware yesterday, so that's not on here. So we are moving and shaking. We're in over 100 retail locations. We partner predominantly with cannabis dispensaries like Good Day Farm, The Greenery, and Crop. We're also in vet hospitals like Out West Veterinary Clinic. We're in Briarwood and Chenal Animal Hospital in Little Rock. And we're also in stores like Neighborhood Pet Shop and small pet boutiques here in town. Let me jump back to where I was. So something that I do at Hippie Hounds that maybe isn't the same as some of my other competitors, especially in the manufacturing space, is that I invest in humans. I don't have millions of dollars worth of production equipment. We make these products by hand. They're artisan, they're custom, they're made with love. And I wanted a company that did that didn't risk their values when they got bigger. My current full-time employees is 5. My current part-time employees is 1. My current contract employees is 4. By 2024, we hope to add 3 full-time, 2 part-time, and 2 more contract employees. My 2022 payroll was $64,148, and my payroll this year is $144,788. I love that I created a business that is helping other people not only be able to pay for their own life and pay for their own expenses and grow, but they get to grow alongside me and alongside my business. And that's not just financial, that's mental, that's emotional, that's in all the different ways that I can provide support is what I give to my employees. We are doing a clinical trial. So back in 2020, when we were really getting big and really starting to get a name for ourselves, I had a veterinarian, Erica Mosnes. He's down in Brazil, and he is one of the first researchers down there to do veterinary cannabis. He actually partnered with Springer to write the textbook on veterinary cannabis. And he approached me for a clinical trial on atopic dermatitis. I was so excited. Absolutely, take all my products. You know, let's do a clinical trial. But I didn't know it was going to be a whole bunch of hurry up and wait. So when we first got the green light, let's do a clinical trial. I told all my friends, I let everybody know I was so excited, but then became the battle with customs that took us 2 years. 2 years to get our product through customs. And no matter how hard you want to push quicker, that's not your timeline. So I'm sure you guys can imagine that starts to wear on you after a while. About 1.5 years of that, I was like, is this even gonna happen? Do you know what I mean? Like, I've already told everybody this is gonna happen. So one day, and this was not too long ago, I think it was about 3 months ago, I get an email from them, and it had these 2 pictures and several more where they had actually received my product for their clinical trial at the University of Santa Maria in Brazil. And I cried. I just cried. Just thank God they got there. Because this is why I started this company. I didn't just want to change people's minds about cannabis. I didn't just want to save every single dog that I could with natural medicine. I wanted to change science. I wanted to put cannabis in the textbooks. I wanted to prove its legitimacy as a medical treatment option. And thanks to the UFSM, Hippie Hounds is going to do just that. Yay, all of our retailers. So I do want to tell you guys, I'm sure you're curious what Hippie Hounds does for the dogs, right? So I got a couple of cases up here that I'm going to mention. First, I want to tell you that our products are not just for dogs. I've got a cat one, and the cat tincture is not just for cats. People use it on baby possums, raccoons, bunnies, ferrets, and you can even put it in a nebulizer and use it for reptiles. Same can be said for our 1,000 milligram tincture, our high end. It can be used for horses, goats, pigs, cattle, all of those different animals, you name it. Jack here, I actually went to vet tech school with Jack's mom, and Jack was diagnosed with hip dysplasia at age 4. For those of you that know about dogs, that is a young age to receive that sort of diagnosis. Jack also carried a lot of extra weight, which can be a big contributor when it comes to hip issues. But Jack's mom was a vet tech just like me, so she tried everything. This dog was on NSAIDs, he was on joint supplements, he ate JD food, which is joint-specific food. It increases the amount of synovial fluids in the joints. She was doing everything she could for this dog. He still needed a ramp to get in and out of the car. He couldn't really get up from a laying down position. He needed assistance. Excuse me. So that was when she came to me, Andrea, I see you with this weird hippie stuff. Go ahead and send me a bag. I'm going to try it out. So I send her a bag of 10 milligram. And the next day she tells me, hey, you know, I was walking by Jack when he was laying down and he just jumped up. There wasn't any delay in him standing from a laying down position where before he would need a sling to do that. So the next day she calls me because not only does she have Jack, she also has a 2-year-old at home, same type dog. And she had 2 pounds of hamburger meat go missing off the counter. So she was scolding her younger dog, you are so bad, you're not allowed to do that. And all of a sudden Jack throws up the hamburger meat. Jack jumped on the counter to steal hamburger meat because he felt that much better. Jack, unfortunately, is no longer with us, but for the last year of his life, Hippie Hounds made him 100 times more comfortable. And that was really all that I could ask for. Trimming. This case got me because when I made these treats, I knew cannabis could help for a wide variety of ailments, but I assumed for dogs, we'd be looking at anxiety and pain, right? Those are probably the 2 that we're going to see the most of. But Truman had cancer. Truman had hemangiosarcoma. He had a stalker-sized ball tumor on the spleen. For those of you that don't know, the spleen is really vascular. You've got to tie off over 15 veins and arteries to remove the spleen. It's a very dangerous, very bloody surgery. And in a dog with that big of a tumor, it's not one that they were going to operate on. So they gave Truman a 2-week prognosis. They said this dog is not going to live past 2 weeks. So his mom goes into the dispensary that sells my product, and she picks up a bag of 10 milligram Hippie Hounds. Well, she calls me 3 months later to tell me her dog is 70% back to normal. The abdomen is shrinking, he's playing, his spirits are good, he's eating. Things are changing for Truman. 7 months after that, she called me in tears, thanking me for another Christmas with her dog. Truman lasted 13, 14 months past his prognosis. And he was 70% back to normal all the way to his natural. We're really grateful that Hippie Hounds can aid these dogs at the end of their lives. It's hard when you do that. I know I was a vet tech, so I had the euthanasia conversation 15 times a day. It's not an easy space or place or a fun thing to talk about. But for me, it's a majority of my clients. They're at the end of their rope, their dog is at the end of their life. And they're coming to me because no other options are working. So we're really grateful that we were able to help Truman. So that's what Hippie Hounds is all about. We're about community, we're about Conway, we're about Arkansas. We love to help the people in our community and especially the dogs in our community. Which brings me to canines. Obviously, our priority is dogs. I grew up, my mom was a dog trainer and a handler. She owns a dog training club here in Conway now, you know. And science, obviously, our clinical trial in Brazil, we are so excited for that. And that's one of the top priorities for Hippie Hounds is to further our reach and do more clinical trials to prove the efficacy of cannabis medicine. And then pet parents. I'm always here for the pet parents. I love to change their minds about this type of medicine, but I also love to hear their stories about what our products are able to do. Okay, thank you guys so much. This is my contact information. So feel free to send me a text message, an email, a phone call. I'd be happy to help you. I've also got samples up here for your dog. So feel free to grab some and thank you guys so much. Yes, ma'am.
What would you say is the most important thing to learn or improve upon when it comes to managing employees and hiring people or firing people or trusting employees, those things you said were.
Trust your advisors, and as woman to woman, it's not just girl drama. I think I didn't say something to my investors for a long time, or I didn't say anything to my immediate, advisors because I was embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed. It's something that everybody deals with. And when you do listen to your advisors, actually apply it. For me, I think for everybody in this room, you always like to be the smartest person in the room. You always like to have all the answers. You got to drop that pride if you're going to be able to manage people and be successful. Anybody else? Okay, question. Yeah.
What stores are you selling products?
So here in Conway or just in general?
I mean, here in Conway.
Here in Conway, you can find them at Neighborhood Pet Shop, Chestnut Animal Clinic, Out West Veterinary Clinic, Patty Cake's Bakery, places like that. And then in the whole US, you can find them at dispensaries, grooming salons, vet clinics.
Do you have a move-in date for your new location?
Yeah, we're moving at the end of the month. If you have a truck. We should be in there by the first of next month, and then I'm gonna get with the Conway Chamber to do a ribbon cutting. All that. When I have a grand opening, I'll tell you guys. Yeah. Yes.
You have like a particular vendor you get from, and you kind of speak on like that side of the business.
Oh, for sure. So when I was trying to source hemp, it was pretty tricky. Here in Arkansas, farmers had just transferred over to doing hemp, so none of them knew what they were doing. Everybody from Colorado came down with their best skinny jeans because they were going to teach people how to grow hemp. And it was rough. I went to somebody that I was going to help them harvest because that's how serious I was about my sourcing, And when I showed up for some reference, a hemp plant should be way taller than me, right? I hop out of the truck, I'm this deep in mud, and the plants are this tall. So Arkansas, as much as I would love to have a grower here that I can get behind, I haven't found one yet. So I actually source my hemp from Kentucky. And I've got a farmer there that we've had a really good relationship since Hippie Hounds really started. It was difficult here because I would talk to a company, like when I first started, there was a company called Natvana that I really wanted to use their hemp. And I purchased my first kilo from them. And I told them all about my ideas. It took them 4 months from payment to delivery of the hemp. And then in between that time, they formulated their own veterinary product off of my idea. So I realized the climate was going to be really cutthroat and dangerous. So that's another reason I outsourced to another state.
And how are you navigating the finance? Are you still doing dealing in cash mainly, or do you have like someone that finances everything and helps on that side?
Thankfully, we made really good friends with Arvest, and they heard Dog Treat Bakery, and they didn't ask any more questions. So that's what we're riding with right now. But if they're anybody else, right? But thankfully, it's not an issue now. But you can also bank through people like Colorado has a high risk banking, and you can go through them for it.
But you had multiple payment mechanisms.
Oh yeah, PayPal froze my account with over 5,000 in it. And I mean, they never let me see that back. Yeah, we're part of Square's early access CBD program. So we actually had to submit all of our certificate of analysis for our products to Square for them to verify our product type in order for us to run cash through them. So Square is one of the main ones we work with. PayPal will be gay. Let you know.
But talk a little bit about that's what as far as sourcing side, you're also not just, can you get it a little bit?
Oh yeah, testing is paramount. The majority of my competitors don't do any testing on their products, but for me, I do a full panel COA, which means it doesn't only tell you how much CBD, CBG, THC is in it. It also tells you that it's free from heavy metals, pesticides, mycotoxins, and things like that. I am so much the only one in the industry doing that. I had to call, before I met my connect in Kentucky, I called 14 labs. None of them did full panel testing. And full panel is what includes the freedom from, because a cannabis plant is extremely bioaccumulative. It's being used in Hiroshima to pull nuclear waste out of the earth. Like, this plant can absorb everything. So if a farmer plants hemp where they used to use a pesticide, the hemp will absorb it, and then resulting in that being in your final product. So we test the oil when we get it. I have the supplier test it before he sends it to, and I test my products on the back end to make sure their potency is where they are and that nothing was introduced into them through the process. Yeah.
Have you looked at, and this is a really abstract question, so you know, you might not, you may definitely be there, but have you ever looked into like verifying that data to in the public, showcasing all the transparency and like validating that data, showing, oh look, nobody else is doing this, but I'm wanting to provide that transparency to everybody.
Absolutely. That's one of the main things that we market and we talk to clients about. So it's on our website. We utilize it a lot on our social media because it does put us a cut above. You know, there's a lot of products out there that you would say COA to them, they wouldn't even know what you meant. Barry?
So if you could send one message back to on the day before they had decided, what would you want to inform yourself? That's the one thing you want to wish you had known then.
Believe in yourself. I have doubted myself every single step of the way. I mean, even on my way here to tell you guys about what I've done. And I would just go smack her and I would tell her, believe in yourself. There's so many people that believe in you. And if you just gave yourself that little bit of belief, so many more doors would open. You wouldn't have a panic attack on the sales call. The answers would be there. So that it would be that, trust myself. Yes.
So, from my understanding with CBD, it is actually completely different than hemp provided in plant or in pet products. And so something that's advertised with hemp doesn't have CBD, it's hemp, correct?
Let me help you blur or unblur some of that. So CBD is a single molecule that's found in the hemp plant. So when a hemp plant is to flower, just like it looks like what marijuana looks like, right? It's big cannabis buddy and flowery. It has all of these little wax tendrils on it, and those are called trichomes. If I walked up and I squeezed a hemp plant, my hand would be sticky and wet because of how much lives on there. Now, inside of those trichomes, inside of those molecules is CBD, CBG, CBC, and THC, and 180 more. So hemp is actually extremely high in CBD. When I'm teaching people the difference between hemp and marijuana, marijuana is grown for THC percentage, hemp is grown for CBD percentage. So yes, these are hemp. They contain high levels of CBD, but not just CBD by itself. It also has those other cannabinoids, which are extremely important. I tell people it's kind of like if I'm on a sled dog race and all I have is CBD, and he's a great dog, but little CBD is not going to get me to win the Iditarod. But if I have CBD and I have CBG, CBC, CBN, and a couple of terpenes, we're going to be able to win the Iditarod. That's how cannabis medicine works. The one isolated CBD molecule is not going to be nearly as effective as having that CBD along with other molecules. Yeah.
Is the testing also, is the purpose of the testing also to measure the amount of THC so it's not above the danger threshold for dogs?
For sure. Now, thankfully, when I get a kilo of hemp distillate, which is what we infuse in our products, it contains maybe 2% THC in the whole kilo. So we know just from basic dilution properties that the THC is probably not going to be hot. But some of our products, like our 1000 milligram, we watch the THC on it. I used to have a 5000 milligram. I don't anymore because they started to be a little high. So when you get into those really high milligrams is when you're going to see that THC threshold pushing. But for like our 5 and 10 milligram treats and even the majority of our tinctures, the THC threshold is always non-detected. But for those of you that don't know, that THC threshold is 0.3%. So if a product contains more than 0.3%, it's federally illegal. If it contains less than 0.3% THC, it's legal. And that's your distinction. Yes.
How did you find your first few retailers to start?
I showed up with a box and a dream, and I had a collared shirt with the logo put on it. I looked really official, and I went to Suite 443 was one of my very first retailers, and I literally knocked on the door, and I was like, I buy weed here, and I make these streets. And the lady was so nice and so understanding, and she came out. She had 4 bodyguards behind her that were probably twice my size. And I was just shaking, and she looks at me and she said, "You got a COA?" I said, "Yeah, they got a COA." She's like, "I'll take 10 bags. Let's see what happens." And she bought them from me right there, and that was my first one. And the vet clinics, it was vets that I worked for. They knew me, and that, "Hey, I heard you're doing this," and so but yeah. Anybody else? Barry?
I'm just curious about the answer to like insurance brokers and product liability. We don't know or understand what you feel is happening about the liability. How do you get like commercial coverage and you to be sustaining this?
Can you ask again? It was a little quiet.
Yeah.
You're okay.
Commercial insurance, commercial liability insurance, the CBD has been a challenge.
Yes.
How did you get that?
Actually, Greg connected me with my insurance guy, and he was one of those that would go around to the different insurance companies to get quotes. He said 4 or 5 of them just hung up on him basically. And there's actually a Heights Apothecary store that does CBD and hemp, And my insurance provider that Gray introduced me to also insures them. So he already had some companies that he had navigated the process with before, so that made it a little bit easier. But I definitely would say, don't call State Farm. Go to a guy that already knows how to reach out to those companies for you, because that saved me a lot of time and headache in the process. Anybody else? Yeah. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
And just a friendly reminder, our next workshop is August 23rd. He'll be here. Justin is going to be leading a workshop on leadership and how to build a culture of excellence. 12/1. Hope to see you guys. Make sure you register and you'll have a great day. Thank you.